Good morning, gamers! Today is the second episode of my Beginner's Guide series. Today we'll be taking a look at cheats, what they are, and how to use them in Valheim. But before we get started, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live. First, let's talk about why you'd even want to use cheats in the first place. Now, you have to remember they're not technically supported by the game, so you need to be very careful. I've heard stories of items despawning, and you never know how it could hurt your game. And some of these cheats can impact your gameplay. So I would recommend playing through the game first, how the developers intended it to be played, and then using cheats just as needed. I feel like there's this threshold that once you cross it, it's hard to go back. Once you know all of this is available to you, it can be tempting to just want to use cheats instead of actually playing the game. That being said, I use cheats and I'm going to show you how to use them too. Now, I typically get my cheat codes from one or of two places when you just Google Valheim cheats. I either go to PC Gamer or Valheim Gamer. I'll have those URLs linked for you down below. So when you first spawn in, you're going to want to hit F5 that has this drop down menu where you can enter in all of these commands. The very first one you have to enter to tell the game you're going to activate cheats is Devcommands. And then it'll give you this warning: any dev commands is not recommended and is done at your own risk. So this will allow you to access any other cheats in the game. Now let's go into the specific cheats and what they do. Starting with, if you type in just God, this turns on God mode. So basically, you won't die. If something tries to attack you, you won't take any damage from it, or you won't take any fall damage. You can't die in God mode. The second one that I typically use is also Ghost mode. Now this means that you could still take damage if you don't have God mode on, but it means that the monsters and other things in the world around you can't see you. I like this for building specifically without necessarily going into God mode, so that you can build peacefully without monsters constantly trying to kill you. Now I want to talk about debug mode. So to activate debug mode, you just type in debug mode, and it'll say debug mode true. Now this will allow you to do a couple of things, and again, use at your own risk. First off, this debug mode will allow you to fly. So if you hit Z on your keyboard, it'll say debug fly true. And if you hit spacebar, you will go up, and the control will make you go down. And you can basically just fly around. This is really, really helpful when you're doing builds, so that you can see it from all angles and not have to worry about gravity holding you back. To deactivate fly, you just tap Z again. For this next debug one, I cannot caution you enough, okay? I have placed my character over by this spawner, and by pressing K on the keyboard, it will kill everything in the surrounding area. Like that. Now the problem with this is, it will kill your tames as well. So be very careful. There's a certain radius that command will take out, but that does include your tames. I have made that mistake before, and I do not recommend it. But if you have to, for any reason you don't want to deal with them, you just hit K to kill all the monsters around. This last mode of debug, I think, is generally actually pretty useful. To turn it on, you're going to hit B, which will activate build mode, or no cost for anything that you place. So when you go into your inventory, you'll notice that the hammer right here is where it typically would be on your workbench. And we've also got a huge list of things that can be crafted just from our inventory. So I just crafted a hammer without having any resources. And now what I can do with this hammer, I can place anything. I can build anything anywhere. It doesn't cost anything. There's no wood in my inventory, and I can build without using any resources at all. Now that it's getting dark, it would be a great time to show you another cheat that you can do. If you go into your cheat menu, you type TOD, which stands for time of day. And then, for example, if you put 0.5, it'll change your screen. Now, if you're with anyone else in the game, it will not actually change the time of day for them. It'll just be your screen now looks like it's midday. If you look up on those websites, it has a full list of what number is for midnight, is for sunset, all that different kind of thing. But to reset from time of day, you go to TOD and then you do -1. Will reset you back into the real world. Now let's talk about spawning in items. Now not every item in the game has the name you think it would, so I would recommend pulling up a spawn list. For example, I got this one off of PC Gamer, and it lists what the game thinks every item is called so that you can spawn it in. Let's try spawning something in just as an example. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in the word spawn, lowercase, and then hit a space. And we're going to type in coal, for example. And we space again, and this next number is going to be how many we want of them. So if we type in 10, now it's not going to show up in your inventory. It is going to pop out next to you. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to hit enter, and bam. There they come, and I can go collect them from there. Now let's say I wanted to spawn in an item. Now there's a list of what all the different items are called, but they're situated a little differently than you might think. So we're going to start with that same spawn, and then we'll do like sword, and then we have to specify what kind of sword we want, capitalizing the other parts, and then the quantity. Again, reference that list for specific items. This is just a general idea. Now you can also spawn in creatures. I don't know why you'd want to, but you can. So for example, I can do spawn grayling 1. And he'll pop out right there. Along with that, you can do spawn grayling. You want one of them, but let's say you wanted a 2-star grayling. You're going to hit 3. And then a 2-star grayling pops out like that. I don't know why the stars are coordinated in that way, but 2 stars, you do a 3 afterwards. 2 stars, you do a 2. You get the general idea of that. If you browse through that list, you can notice that there are a lot of different things you can spawn in, and you might not know what all of them are right away. So if you're going to experiment with what you're spawning in, I recommend you don't do it on a world that you're extremely attached to. And some of these items require certain requirements to be spawned in the first place, so just be careful. Now I want to talk about some miscellaneous cheats that you can use as well. For example, you can alter the environment and the wind. If we go into our cheat setting, we'll type in ENV for environment, and then we'll choose like light rain. And it would make it start raining. I typically use it to make it clear instead, but as you can see, there are clouds starting to come in, and it's now starting to rain. If you want it to go back to what it was before, you just hit reset environment. And it'll go back to what it was as the default. For wind, you can also put in like the intensity and direction, and it'll go ahead and change the wind for you. My last miscellaneous cheat tip would be when you're building or whatever, and you just have a whole bunch of pieces laying around on the ground, and you don't want to like pick them all up and put them in a chest or whatever. You can type in remove drops, and that will, anything that's just left on the ground will be deleted. This next cheat is really good for getting those screenshots without the pesky gravity getting in your way, or even your character getting in the way. In your drop-down menu, you're going to type free fly, and that's going to toggle this free fly camera. So now I can go take pictures or screenshots by hitting F12. And if I want to get rid of my HUD, you hit Control and F3 at the same time. But you can still move your camera around to get the perfect thing, and just hit it again to make it come back. To get out of free fly, you just type in free fly again, and it'll toggle it off for you. As you can tell, my entire map has been filled out. To do this, you just type in explore map, and it will fill your entire map in for you. And then to reset it, you just put reset map. Very useful if you're not looking to explore the world all by yourself. Like if you've already completed your world in your game and you don't want to have to go through filling in every tiny little place, it's a good thing to kind of just finish off the map. Finally, these are cheats that can be used to spawn and stop events from happening. Now, when I say events, I mean like when greylings or grey dwarfs come and try to attack your base, or trolls or whatever spawn in and are trying to attack you. That's an event. You can go in and type in stop event from happening, and it'll end and they'll go away. Or oppositely, you can choose for an event to start, depending on which one you want. Now, the reason I've used this in the past is to try and diagnose some things, like I had a problem with my game crashing at a certain event, so I would spawn it in and see what was going on with my computer when that event was happening. It's not really necessary, but it can be useful in those certain special circumstances. I hope this can be a helpful guide to those of you who may not have used cheats before, and kind of guide you along your way to exploring those. And again, for a more extensive list and a breakdown, I would recommend checking out those websites that I have linked below. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will see you guys next time.